name is Leah, aka the Vibe Enthusiast. I'm a junior, environmental studies, sociology minor, public relations major, and right now I'm doing a project about environmental sustainability and the connection it has to culture. So I am excited to be speaking with you, and it's Niani, right?
Yes, Niani.
Okay, so Niani, where are you from?
So I am from Maryland. I'm actually grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. I go to grad school right now in Savannah College, going to Savannah College of Art and Design.
In what?
Savannah College of Art and Design. I'm studying design for sustainability.
Wow, so that's actually a major there.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so tell me a little bit more about your undergrad experience and like what got you interested in sustainable design.
So I actually went to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. I got my bachelor's degree in fashion business management. I actually was not studying sustainability at all. But the way I got into sustainability was when I studied abroad in Florence, Italy for a year, and my design teacher gave us old clothes to use instead of new fabric. So that's kind of when I started doing my own, kind of research on what sustainability is. I didn't even know there was a name for it. I just knew about upcycling, and then I started doing more research. I was like, wait a minute, this is sustainability. I actually really got to learn more about it. I started to enjoy it more. I started to I want to do more for the environment. I want to do more for the fashion industry, and that's kind of what pushed me towards applying to SCAD, towards trying to understand and get a broader background in sustainability so I could talk to more people about it.
Okay, cool. And so do you feel like, because like you said, you had no idea about sustainable fashion growing up, do you feel like growing up in Maryland gave you an appreciation for the environment, or do you feel like that came whenever you went to Italy? Tell me more about that.
I feel like that came when I went to Italy. I actually was not into fashion when I was a kid at all. My mom actually was like, yeah, you need to, when I was 13, she's like, you need to stop wearing Converse all the time. You have no style. So yeah, I actually really had no fashion sense. I didn't really care about fashion. I just wore whatever was cheapest or whatever she gave me to wear. And yeah, I didn't really develop my own style or to really start to understand sustainability until I went to Italy, kind of when I came back. Mm-hmm. And after that class, when I came back, that's when I started thrifting more. I was out of school for a minute just working. And so when I wasn't working, I would just go to a thrift store, buy a bunch of random pieces. I would upcycle them. I would cut them up. I would just sew all the time. So I think that's when I started to appreciate it more, a little bit later.
And so what inspired you to begin selling those pieces? Talk more about your brand with the denim upcycling.
So I started Not Your Normal Denim in around October of 2020. During the pandemic, even right before that, I was just sewing all the time. I wasn't in school. I was just sewing all the time. And when the pandemic started, I started to have more time. I felt like I wasn't able to be creative up until that point because I had all this extra time to actually sew and to actually go to more thrift stores and things like that. And I was making these pieces and I would put them on Instagram. People oh my gosh, is that for sale? Can I buy that? I was like, oh, you want to buy it? So after that, I started okay, well, maybe I should actually start selling them because I was getting all this interest with it. So that's when I started figured out how to make a website. I launched it, and then I just got all of these people who were just so interested. So I will say the downside is my pieces are a bit, I guess, on the pricier side because I do everything myself. I don't have a large team who works with me. So I wouldn't say that I have gotten a ton of orders, but the whole thing is I feel like I've gained a lot of attraction towards sustainability in general. And that's kind of what I wanted to do in the first place, just to educate people. If it's just making TikTok videos about my designs, about how people can thrift more, about how people can upcycle more, then I think that's really good.
So you actually have a TikTok as well as an Instagram?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I do a lot with TikTok, but I think a year ago before I got to grad school and I had more time, I was trying to make more styling videos and just post more of my designs when I can, just so I can show people what they can do. I made one TikTok about how to make a candy wrapper dress. So I had this old black dress and it was Halloween, all these old candy wrappers. And then I kind of put them on the dress in this cool pattern. I was oh, you can do it too. Cause I just want to inspire people for real.
Okay, that's dope. And so do you think your business management background helped you launch your business now?
100%. I don't think I would kind of be where I am without that business background. I feel a lot of designers go to the fashion school just for design and they don't understand what a business is or how to run a business. A lot of businesses end up failing. Like for me, I was like, okay, like if I want this to go well, I cannot rush it. I cannot immediately start being like, okay, like I gotta, market myself to like everybody. I had to kind of figure out, okay, like it's okay to, start slow, gain attraction, get more interest, see where people's heads out, figure out your target market. And then from there, you can kind of like do more with it.
Yes. And I love how you were saying that, like, because you're not making an emphasis on profits, like it's easier for you to like spread awareness around sustainability in general and sustainable fashion. And that like kind of brings me to the next question. Like, do you think that like the United States is like shifting their attitude towards sustainability, or do you think that like we have a long way to go before that'll be like common?
I think we are shifting towards, being more sustainable. I'll go to a grocery store and I'll see like a package says, oh yeah, this is sustainably made. We use less of this, less of that. But I think the problem with the US is that we are all about profit, and that sustainability is kind of become more of a greenwashing effect, and that we kind of like, okay, well, this is sustainable, but it's going to cost like 10 times more than our regular products. And it's like, okay, like how are we trying to make an impact if we're making things cost so much more? And like, I understand, yes, a lot of times these more sustainable products are harder and more difficult to make. But if we start talking to people about how we all can be more sustainable, like on a smaller scale, then I think it won't be this thing that's only, seen as for the rich,
Right. I don't know. I would say like my perspective of sustainability is like, it's the opposite. Like the idea of sustainability was brought to the forefront by people who aren't rich, because like we have to make do with what they have instead of like going out and buying new pieces. Do you think that's like what inspired your teacher to give you like those rags? Like, was she trying to like make that message? I don't know.
Yeah, so kind of like, so the reason why I said that is because at SCAD we learned about original green, like what you're saying. That's kind of what the whole thing saying is it for. It's basically like how back in the day, like, hundreds of years ago, people didn't have a way to do things, and so they would just use what they had. They would use, rocks, they would use old fabric, they would always mend things, they never bought anything new. And so we did that for a long time until capitalism, until we realized, we need to start making profits on things. So the only way to do that is to constantly sell. Mm-hmm. And I think about sustainability, not everyone, but some companies that, try and promote sustainability, it's still about selling. It's not really about like, okay, like this is for the better good. This is actually for the environment. It's actually for the people. And we kind of have to move our focus from profits to making it more for the people. Like I'm sure you've heard of, like the people playing a profit, and we have to move away from just, like economic development and make it more of like sustainable development. It needs to be for everyone, not just for one type of person.
Okay, now I understand what you mean. And do you think that the people, like your major is like kind of like structuring you guys to like go into like the industry with that knowledge?
Yes, I would say so. We actually learn a lot about like the root of the problem and about like the role designers play. Like that's like the biggest focus in my program. We also learn about sustainable materials, how to do in-depth research. We're learning about ways to actually talk to people, and the importance, is in design is language, being able to express what you're trying to talk to people about, what you want them to get out of what you're trying to say. And yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot. I've gotten to realize that sustainability, we need to say more than just sustainability. Like we can't just be like, oh yeah, sustainable. We need to like try and help people understand what it is and what they can do to be more environmentally aware.
Right. Like that's literally kind of what I'm trying to do with my account, but not from like the same lens as you. Like I'm not in fashion, but I just want to like raise awareness about like the environment and like why we should sustain it and like what that literally means, because like there's a huge barrier between like the experts in sustainability and like common people. So like that's also why I'm doing this, to kind of try to bridge that gap. And I love that you guys are like learning that. So the last question that I have is like, do you think that culture relates to environmental sustainability at all?
I do think that culture relates a lot to it. I feel like if you grew up in a culture where you didn't have as many resources, you were kind of taught about sustainability without even realizing it. You're like, okay, well, I only have this pair of pants that's going to last me, 5 years. What am I going to do? I'm going to mend it. I'm going to find scraps. Like, okay, like I can't go out and buy a new bottle of water all the time. I'm just going to reuse up the water bottle that I have. And so some people, they learn about without even realizing that that's a thing. Like a lot, especially in other countries, they're taught immediately about sustainability. Like there's a lot of people in my program from India, and they come here with so much more knowledge than I ever had about sustainability, because that was just their way of living. It's you reuse what you have. You don't go out and buy new things. You don't throw away trash. You compost. You reuse everything that you can until it really is depleted to like nothing. And I feel like people should go back to how things were in the past in that aspect, as in like reusing everything, because we're so caught up. Our culture nowadays is to buy. Like it's all about buying. It's all about profits. It's not about, okay, we have all these materials. And the thing is, we're running out of materials. Like if you think about it, we have like nothing left to really survive on for the next 20 years. So that's why these companies have been trying to develop these goals. But it's not even about just achieving those goals. It's like every person has, every person plays up, they do something with that. Like every person has an opportunity to try and like help the environment.
Yes, literally. So I'm glad that you like brought an emphasis on that. Like we are actually running out of materials. We can't like continue our culture like a buy and like having an emphasis on profits when like survival is like at stake. So like that makes me feel good that that's what you guys are learning, especially when it comes to fashion, because like fast fashion is like one of the biggest contributors to like greenhouse gas emissions and like waste in general. So like I just have another question that doesn't even have to do with sustainability, but about how like clothes are made with like chemicals and like microplastics and stuff like that. Whenever you guys learn about fabrics and like sustainable fabrics, do y'all still like try to eliminate like chemicals and stuff?
So we don't learn a lot about sustainable fabrics, I'll say. We learn more about every single type of material. So like we'll learn about mycelium, which is like mushrooms. Learn about how you can use orange peels to make leather. So we kind of learn about like how each material, like from where it comes from, and like how you can develop that material to make something out of it or to make something last longer. And yeah, I guess we do study microplastics a little bit, and I would say like our emphasis really, like honestly, what my professor told us is that if you can make a product 20% more sustainable, then that's good. Like, I feel like a lot of people, the problem these days is people are trying to make everything 100% sustainable. And I feel like we can't go from 0 to 100. Like, we literally have to make small improvements. Otherwise, it's not even going to be something that can be used. Like, for example, we're talking about microplastics. People are trying to make these plastics out of more recycled plastic material. And basically, you can, like, grow a plant that can be used to make plastics. And it's like, why would we use all natural resources to basically grow plastic? It's like, why are we doing that?
Yeah.
And I think it's really about like seeing the benefits that these materials have, like the natural materials have, and trying to find a way to improve them or to make the quality last longer.
I see what you mean. So yes, I agree. Small steps towards the big goal and like finding a way to bring the two together. I think I like also agree with you. Like when we talk about sustainability, a lot of people think like we're talking about like 100% sustainable, or like a lot of people try to achieve that goal, which like right now is not achievable, especially since we have to like recycle a lot of the materials that aren't sustainable, that don't decompose. So I like that your professor is teaching you guys that like anything is better than nothing. Any improvement is better, but we're trying to innovate like to create like a holistic kind of future where we can use both. So I really like that. So yeah, I do have one more question that I forgot to ask. What is your relationship with the environment?
I would say my relationship with the environment over the years has become, I guess, like more intertwined in who I am as a person, because I have realized that without the environment, like we are nothing. Like I need the environment needs me. And if I don't take care of the environment, then I am essentially not taking care of myself. Like I need water. I need the resources that the earth has to give me, and I should be treating those resources with respect. And we work together. Like if one of us is like, I'm going to take everything, then the other one's going to be like, all right, well, I have nothing to give you and you're going to die.
Right,
it's like
right.
both will die if we don't work together. And I feel like we just have everyone needs to realize that the environment is for us, like it was created for us, and that we have to be doing our part to make it something that we can live in.
Yes, exactly. We have to go back to like those indigenous practices, or at least take from those to where we live in harmony with the environment. Because right now, like, the environment is not happy with us, and it shows. Natural disasters, droughts, like lack of resources. A lot of our food is now like more processed than ever. Like, we can't even like pull from the environment like we used to. So I do think like the more that we put an emphasis on trying to, you know, restore that harmony and trying to like reuse the materials that we did create that won't decompose, like we'll be getting closer and closer to a future that like is sustainable, that like will last generations and generations and generations after us. Like, I think that's the biggest goal. And like, I don't know, are you Gen Z?
I mean, not exactly. I don't know. I'm more of like a zillennial. I wouldn't label myself Gen Z. I'm almost 25, so I wouldn't say I'm really Gen Z.
Okay. Yeah. our generation is like here to like restore that relationship, because like millennials, like they're on it too. They're on it a little bit, and so is Gen Z. So you're like at the perfect like cusp.
Yeah.
But yes, oh my gosh, like it was so nice talking to you though. Thank you for like taking the time out for this interview.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you. Good luck.